hope you're all well on this Tuesday. Welcome to another album ranking. Today is part 5 of the Paul McCartney story. And this is something that I didn't realise that Paul McCartney had done. We're talking about a band he was in. It's a duo called the Fireman that was formed in 1993 with Youth. Now Youth is better known, his name is Martin Glover, who is actually a record producer and best known and founding member of Killing Joke. So you've got basically Youth and Paul McCartney, and they became the duo the Fireman. They got together in 1993. Paul McCartney just finished recording one of his solo albums, and he was in the process of mixing, and he wanted some input and help from another producer. So a friend of his called Alan Crowder recommended Youth. So he came along to the studio, and they spoke about it, and he invited him to his private Hog Hill studio in Sussex. And then they started making records. So between 1993 and 2008, they put out 4 albums, very different albums. So we'll have a look at these 4 albums. So coming in at number 4, released in 2000, this is the 3rd album they put out, and it's called Liverpool Sound Collage. It's also credited to the Beatles and Super Furry Animals and Youth. Okay, the first track is called Plastic Beetle, and I'm sorry to say it's just a load of noise with the odd guitar riff in there. It's 8 minutes and 23, and it just does nothing for me. Second track, Peter Blake 2000. Now this is 16 minutes and 54 seconds, a weird nothing. I think I got about 5 minutes in and I had to flick it on. I just couldn't listen to any more of it. It was giving me a headache. This one's also credited to Super Furry Animals and the Beatles. I thought, the next track will be better. No, we got 16 minutes of 37, took for a track called Real Gone Dub Made Manifest in the Vortex of Internal Now. This isn't too bad, actually. It's got weird noises and effects, but there's a little bit of more melodic to it, and it's got a little bit to it. It's not brilliant, but it's a little bit better than Peter Blake. Next track on here is called Made Up. It's actually one of the tracks on here that isn't too bad. It got something about it, but it's still not very good, but it actually does sound like a track. Then we get Free Now. You can hear a little bit of like John talking in this, but it's still, I couldn't listen to the whole of this album. Unfortunately, this is probably the worst album I've ever heard. It's just 58 minutes of total nonsense. It's that bad. I can't even give it a mark because it's that bad. I don't want to listen to this album ever again. So I'm going to give it nothing because it's just nothing. I can't believe it. I was half expecting something good when I first started listening to these albums. I mean, considering this is the 3rd one in, I thought, it could get better, but it's just a mixture of noises and talking, and I think we'll move on. So coming in at number 3, we have the debut album released in 1993 called Strawberries, Ocean's Ship Forest. First track on this one is called Spiritual Stomp. It is a really uplifting piece of ambient music. Best piece of music on the album. Lots of effects and keyboard runs and little vocal bits and Paul. It is really good. I don't mind that track at all. It is very, very nice to listen to. Translunar Rising. It just carries on from the previous track. It's got that same beat in it, but with different effects, and there's nothing wrong with it. Transcrystalline. Unfortunately, that beat from the first track and the second track is still with us, and it's now getting a little bit monotonous. I think they could have just called it one track. Okay, it would have been what, nearly 20 minutes long. No, hang on, 13. Yeah, about 20 odd minutes long, but you could get away with it. But having 3 tracks with the same beat in it is just boring. Okay, next we get Pure Trance. This is a little bit better. We have got some actually different sort of sounds. It's got quite nice harmonies. That's pretty good. Arizona Light. Unfortunately, they've used the same beat from Pure Trance, and towards the end of this it started to get a little bit monotonous. Then we get Celtic Stomp. I thought, oh, this will be good. No, guess what? Another variation of Pure Trance. Not enthralling. Oh, I thought the title track will be different. Strawberry Ocean, Ship's Forest. Yep, more variations of that Pure Trance beat. It just doesn't do anything for me. Flicked it on because it was just boring. Next track, 444. At last we got something different. It's weird, lots of noises. It's a combination, I'd say, of Art of Nine meets techno Jean-Michel Jarre, and I actually like that track. Sunrise Mix. You thought you'd heard the last of that Pure Trance beat. Guess what? It comes back, but with some little more noises. Although this is a little monotonous in places, there are some highlights, and I do like the first bit, that first transpiral stomp. But I can only give it a 1 out of 10 because it's just too monotonous. Repeats itself so much, and you don't know if you're listening to track 1, track 4, track 6. It all seems to think, and it just doesn't bite the bullet, I'm afraid. Okay, coming in at number 2, we go to 1998 now, and to the second album called Rushes. Now this is a lot better. And the first track on this is called Watercolour Guitars. This is really nice. I like the acoustic guitar in. It's got some really ambient sounds as well, and it's very pleasant to listen to. Then we get Palo Verde. I like this as well. It's nothing like Watercolour Guitars. It's modern, it's ambient, and it's got some of that Jean-Michel Jarre feel to it, and it's quite good. Then we go, next track is called Oravenda. This is got lots of sounds, lot of ambient keyboard, and it's got a sitar on it. Now, you know like me and the love of sitars, but I'm going to shock you here, it actually adds to this track, and it's probably very good. It's the only one I really like that's got a song that's got a sitar. There's one other, which we'll talk about later. But I like that track. It's really, really good. Then we get Fluid. Again, this is very ambient, relaxing. I wouldn't say this is foreground music. It's definitely background music, and It's the sort of thing you could put on when you're eating dinner. Just you once, you got a group of friends around for dinner, and you just want something in the background. Nothing strong, but something just to give it some ambience, and that track does. Then we get Apple Tree Cinnabar Amber. I like this. Best bit of music on the album. It's just the sounds and the ambience of this is fantastic. Less we could say about Bison though. It's that same old cliche. 5 instruments all playing different tunes. No coherent, just loads of noise. 7 AM. Yes, it's a bit dull and nothing seems to be really going on there. Then we get Watercolour Rush. Fairly short piece of music, but very pleasant to listen to. I've got no problem with that piece. Okay, again, this album is pretty good. I like this one. It's got some really nice pieces on it, but of course it's got some really bad bits. But this time I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 3 out of 10. This was the lowest marks I've ever given on an album ranking. Okay, coming in at number 1 then. The 4th and final album, called Electric Arguments. Came out in 2008. First track on this one is called Nothing Too Much, Just Out of Sight. The thing is, Paul's singing forwards and the music goes backwards. It's got that sort of sound to it, but it's quite effective and I don't mind it at all. Two Magpies is the next one. I love this. This is something that could have appeared on a Beatles album, that White Album sort of period, Sgt. Pepper's. It's got that Beatles feel to it. Nice sound, really, really good. Love that track. Sing the Changes. This has got some really nice riffs, guitar riffs on it. Nice harmonies, a nice melody, very ambient. Again, very pleasant to listen to. Travelling Light. A little bit boring, nothing really going on. Highway. I like this one. It's got quite a little bit of a rock groove to it. Electronic techno with a bit of rock in there. It's not too bad. Light from Your Lighthouse. Some lovely guitar work in that. Again, these are all very ambient sort of tunes, but the guitar work is really nice. Sun is Shining. Now this is very good. It's something that it sounds more like a song that would be on a Paul McCartney solo album. Very, very good track, and I like that one. Dance Till We're High. It's okay. Probably one of the weaker tracks. Lifelong Passion. Got some harmonica on this. Nice little track. The mixture of the traditional harmonica with modern ambient keyboards, very good. Is This Love? This is fantastic. It's got a flute at the start of it, and then it gets into some very ambient music, again very relaxing. Put it this way, I would listen to this album again. That's how much I like it. And the last track, I think it's the last, no, it's got a couple more, sorry. Then we get Lovers in a Dream. This reminds me of something you'd get off a Peter Gabriel solo album. It's got that ambience that Peter created. I like it very much. Universal Here, Everlasting Now. This, again, it's a little bit rocky. It reminds me of some of that modern day Hawkwind sound. Pretty good. Don't Stop Running. A little bit repetitive, and then it goes silent, and then you get a little hidden track called Road Trip, which is just weird and ambient noises. Yeah. This album, as I said, it isn't too bad. There's some really good tracks that are coherent, and there's melodies. I'd say this is probably it is the best album that these two put out. But it's not classic, and I don't think it'll ever go down as a classic. But on the whole, it is really solid in places. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Okay, normally I'd say that's it, next show, but on my travel of doing research for Paul McCartney, I found out that he actually made some classical albums. Now, I'm not going to rank these because it's very hard to rank classical music. I'll just go through what he brought out. Yeah, I think he did 4 or 5 albums. First classical album he brought out in 1991 was called Liverpool Oratorio. It's a live album, and it's his first foray into classical music. He composed it in collaboration with Carl Davis to commemorate the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra's 150th anniversary. It was received with a lot of media attention upon its revealing in 1991. It's split into 4 pieces: War, Crypt, Wedding, Crisis, Peace. Very nice music. That's all I'll say. I have listened to it. Sometimes you forget that you're listening to something that was composed by Paul McCartney and not by Schubert or Mozart. It's very pleasant. Then in 1997, he released Standing Stone. This is pretty good. Yes. He said it's composed of a long poem describing the Celtic man. It's okay. It's not as operatic as the first album, but it's pretty good. Then we got 1999 Working Classical. The concept behind this one, it's about working class to the place of pre-existing and some cases very well known things. I don't know what he's on about there. This is Paul McCartney, of course. Very pleasant to listen to. And then in 2006 we had Ecce Cor Meum, which is Latin for Beyond My Heart. Again in 4 pieces. And it was inspired by his late wife Linda. It's very pleasant to listen to. The last one he did was in 2011, Ocean's Kingdom. It's a score for a ballet of the same name that was commissioned by the New York City Ballet. It says it tells the story of 2 fantastic worlds, the pure Ocean Kingdom and the Earth Kingdom, with its sort of baddies who threaten the underwater way of life. It's dramatic. You can tell the bits where it's about the good side and the evil side. It's quite a nice listen. So I was shocked to hear that he'd been involved in classical music. But they're out there to listen to if you like a bit of classical, worth a listen. But it was very hard. I couldn't rank these because it was just too hard. All I can say is that they're not bad. There's no bad classical albums. So yeah, bit different for Paul McCartney and something I didn't know he had done. Okay, that's all for this one. I'll be back later with a retro ranking. This week it is a continuation from Rolling Stones the week before. We're looking at the UK singles releases that weren't on albums. So join me for that. I'll see you later. Take care for now.